Act 4, Scene 1, Take 1, the Egyptian Evening News.
Welcome to the Egyptian Evening News with your host, Shelly Melly
and Mandy Candy. Tonight, we start with a story straight from the White Palace with the Pharaoh himself. Let's turn to our White Palace correspondent on the scene, Joshy Washy.
The Pharaoh's administration today put out a report that Pharaoh has, for the 10th time, rejected the request by Moses for the release of the Jewish people, who are also sometimes called the children of Israel. Moses, self-proclaimed ambassador for the children of Israel, has made this request 9 times previously. After each incident of the Pharaoh turning down the request, massive natural disasters, what you might even call plagues, have fallen on the nation. This morning, Moses went to the Pharaoh to request to let my people go for the 10th time. As of yet, there are no repercussions from the Pharaoh's rejection, but Jewish people all over the land of Goshen, where most of the Jewish people live, are painting blood over their doorposts to keep the angel of death visiting their household, to keep the firstborn child of each family. This has been Joshy Washy, your White House correspondent, on the scene in the city of Ramses.
painting blood over the doorposts? Well, that just sounds rather gross.
Yes, but as we've seen, Moses' previous 9 predictions of doom have all occurred. So who is this Moses character?
Mandy, our investigative reporters have looked into the life of Moses. He was born to a Jewish family during the time when the law required that all male babies be killed. In an effort to spare his life, Moses' mother put the baby in a basket and then she let him loose in the Nile River. The basket was found by Pharaoh's daughter, who raised him as her very own son, the Prince of Egypt.
Yes, Shelley, and at the age of 40, Moses struck and killed an Egyptian slave master. To avoid going to prison, Moses ran away into the desert. From what our reporters have gathered, it was in the desert that Moses found his God. Rumors have it that Moses saw a bush that was burning, but not being burned up. As he approached, he supposedly heard the voice of God.
And it was that voice of God who told Moses to come back to Egypt and demand that the Pharaoh release the Jewish people who were being worked as slaves.
On to other news. It's time for the weather with our meteorologist, Nikki Picky. We've had a string of horrible weather over the last few weeks. So what's next in the forecast?
You're absolutely very correct. As we look at our weather map of Egypt, about 2 months ago, the Nile River turned into blood. This was followed by frogs coming out of every river and stream, crawling into houses and beds and absolutely everywhere. Lights were then blown in from the desert during a sudden windstorm. After that, a strange storm of flies came in from the southland and swarmed everything. From there, lives dropped throughout the entire nation were infected with disease, and people developed runny, oozy sores. It's really gross. And a couple weeks ago, we had a freakish hailstorm mixed with lightning that set records and softball-sized hail, which is made even more bewildering because we haven't invented softball yet. Then just last week, we had an unexplained 3 days of darkness. The amazing thing is that the area towards Goshen, where the Jewish people live, has not experienced any of these calamities. That brings us to the current forecast. Based on predictions by Moses, who seems to be doing a much better accurate job than my weather team, we can expect an overnight low that will bring in the angel of death and kill the firstborn child of every family in the land, except for in Goshen. Of course, the morning should find us in a fog with lots of dreariness and mourniness. Now back to you, Shelly and Mandy.
Wow, that's not very comforting.
This just in. After the death of Pharaoh's firstborn son, the Pharaoh has decided to let the Jewish people, also called the children of Israel, leave Egypt in the morning.
I don't know about you, but it seems about time to me. It's now time for sports. You may have heard of the big game between the Egyptian charioteers and the Israelite lambs. Let's go to our sports reporter, Elijah Bijah, on the scene of the game.
It was expected to be a one-sided romp by the Egyptian charioteers over the Israelite lambs. A sudden gust of wind has totally changed the outcome. Israelite lambs lambs started the final drive of the game on their own 3-yard line, with their backs to the sea. Just when the charioteers were about to tackle the lambs for a touchback in the end zone, a strange tower of fire stopped their advance. Then, an even stranger wind parted the Red Sea, causing the water to heap up in a wall on either side of a walkway across the seafloor. The Israelite lambs took advantage of this to escape the onslaught of the charioteers before the flock ran down. When the lambs were safely on the other side of the sea, the tower of fire stopped, and the charioteers renewed their blitz against the lambs' offense through the open sea. Right as the charioteers were about to tackle the lambs for a massive loss and end the game, the sea collapsed onto them. What was expected to be a one-sided romp became virtual David versus Goliath victory. This has been My Divided. Back to you in the station.
Well, that's all the news that's fit for to tell you for now. Until next time, this is Shelly Melly
And Mandy Candy, wishing you a good evening.
Moses, a picture of God delivering his people. It is that same God who wants to help us when we are in trouble, or hurting, or just having a bad day. The plan continues.
Okay, cut.